Last night, Israel retaliated again against the Houthis in Yemen for their ongoing strikes on Israel. There were eight of them so far in December, including last night. And Israel this time did a bit more than in the previous two retaliations. This time they hit the only three ports that are used by the Houthis. They hit a power station or a couple of power stations, and they certainly caused some damage, but you could say not enough damage, especially considering that there was another attack on Israel, apparently by the Houthis, but that's not 100% clear. Last I checked. But the cat and mouse game between Israel and the last remaining of Iran's proxies that is still able to attack, or still able and willing to attack Israel, repeatedly continues. The Houthis have struck Israel about 200 times in the past 14 months, and Israel has struck back three times. Now, this time we're really in already a different Middle East. Hopefully, it's going to change a bit more, but this is a Middle East where Hamas is not a viable terrorist organization at the moment, in the sense of it can't really attack Israel outside of Israeli soldiers in Gaza, at least not from Gaza. In the West Bank, it might be a different story. Hezbollah is also militarily all but destroyed. They can't really do too much. Syria is gone, and Iran itself is looking like the regime there is very much in trouble. So Israel really is a few steps away from really changing the Middle East, and getting rid of the Houthis would be a huge step. Now, I will say something that is true of Yemen, as it is to some extent of Lebanon, to some extent of Syria, to a large extent of Iran, to no extent whatsoever of the Palestinians, is that if Israel helped get rid of the regime, that is terrorizing it and also its own people in Yemen, then there is some chance of something else replacing it that might not be as bad for Israel. And so, yeah, it remains to be seen. People, including people on this channel, myself included, are waiting to see what's going to happen on the 20th of January, and to see, and especially in Yemen, to see if actually there is some sort of change in policy, in U.S. policy, of no longer accepting what the Houthis are doing. But as of now, this is where we are. Welcome to the Daily Objective. Apologies for the delay in starting. Daniel, your thoughts on Israel's strike?
I mean, well, first of all, it's definitely great to see we something has to be done about the Houthis, but I hate to be immediately negative, but it shows really the pathetic nature of the Western countries, sort of ex-Israel, because again, I like to always talk about how this war Israel is waging, not only on the Palestinian people, but also on Iran and all its proxies, is not just Israel's war. These countries are not only threat to Israel, and even if you try to ignore the fact that many of the Western nations are involved in the Middle East, even those who aren't, their property, their ships go through the Red Sea, and they've been attacked for a year, for more than a year, almost since October 7. And again, I always say there's still one third of the original shipping that went through the Red Sea is going through that right now. Despite the fact, I think the Houthis were able to sink some ships, but even if you say, they weren't able to do that much, just the fact that so many ships had to be rerouted and have to go through have to travel differently right now is like, it's unbelievable the fact that this is allowed. It's unbelievable that some I don't want to swear, some fucking terrorists in like dog shit country that never accounted to anything is like is like now really you know like forcing us to to like change our shippings. I mean, it's insane. And what did the West do? Well, we had one thing. We had the Operation Prosperity Guardian, which did something. I think they did something, but nothing really has changed. The Houthis are still there. The Houthis still pose a threat. And again, as long even if the Houthis stopped attacking the ships, the fact that the threat is still there, the fact that there is a potential of Houthis just like randomly restarting the rocket attacks again, will make it so we will still not be unsure about like you know, sending our ships through there, or sending as many ships through there as we used to. And yeah, it's insane that it really like Israel is the only one that actually can hit it somewhat. But I mean, yeah, you've talked about January 20th. He, I hate Trump, but Jesus Christ, if he bombs some like terrorists in Yemen, if he bombs the hell out of the Houthis and exterminates them, jeez, I'll be a bit kinder.
Yeah, we've said in the next 4 years expect a day when we do a show in favor of something Trump did, a day when we should do a show against something Trump did. But yeah, I'm hoping there will be more days of the former. We want him to do good things. We just are skeptical about whether that'll happen. And yeah, it is absolutely amazing because again, the Houthis are not just attacking Israel; they're attacking the West, and the West does strike back, but they strike back kind of like Israel strikes back usually, or at least did until October 7th, and for a while afterwards. Um, yeah, it's like that Mike Tyson quote of saying to somebody, "Yeah, I'm voting Trump. What are you going to do about it?" As if, what are you going to do? I can beat you up. That's and yeah, you probably don't want to get in a fight with Mike Tyson. This is not Mike Tyson. This is the Houthis are stronger maybe than other Iranian proxies, but weaker than all the countries they're attacking individually, let alone combined. So this could be fixed quickly, and it's not fixed because the leaders in the West don't want to fix it. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, former MP Chris Williamson said Israel is run by demons. Um, well, I haven't seen that. I remember Chris Williamson on October 17th of last year when the El Ali hospital alleged bombing happened and 500 people supposedly died until we discovered it wasn't a bombing, it wasn't 500, it was the Palestinians killing Palestinians as they often do. But before that, he tweeted, Israel has lost the right to exist. Now, this is somebody who's opposed Israel's right to exist all along, and he is truly one of the most evil people, who are elected politicians in this country in recent decades at least. So yeah, and PC, thank you for another super chat. PC says, you should do a show about him. I don't know. I mean, the reason we do shows about these evil people is because of their prominence, of the fact that somebody so prominent can say the kinds of things that anti-Israel people say and uh, get an audience from it, rather than you know. Uh, Basically, this is what gets them an audience. We're going to talk about that on the reality show when we talk about the responses we got to debunking Candace Owens's anti-Semitic guest on the USS Liberty incident. Um, and yeah, I don't know if Chris Williamson is that important, but it's not impossible that we'll do an episode about him at some point. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says, Razi, I reported his post. Well, look, I don't know. First of all, I don't know to whom, if you mean to the social media platform where he said it, or to the police. I doubt the police will do anything about that. They might do something about us, but I don't think they'll do anything about them. But good luck. Yeah, Davy Boy says, um, actually, where is this? It was a different comment by Davy Boy that I wanted to respond to. Oh yeah. All factions in Yemen are anti-Israel, over 99% of the population. Absolutely. But for example, the new regime in Syria is very much anti-Israel, and I hope Israel doesn't fall into the trap of pretending they're friends. But what Israel managed to do in Syria is completely or almost completely destroy their ability to strike at Israel. And yeah, if where you have enemies that hate you, and where you have enemies that hate you and can kill you, the former is preferable.
Yeah, I mean, about the hating of Israel, pretty much all countries in the Middle East do hate Israel. The question is, are they willing to take it as far as, to the war? I mean, it's not like Egypt, Jordan, or Lebanon, or the Lebanese government are like ex Hezbollah, are like, quick to cooperate and are just are just peace loving with Israel. They, well, for at the very least, they allow weapons to be go through their border to the Palestinian parts. But even so, yeah, the question with Yemen is it shouldn't be a question that, because the other factions in Yemen hate Israel, also don't do anything about the Houthis. The reason why you're doing something about the Houthis is because they are directly threatening you right now, and that has to be dealt with. If Egypt ever, again, try to do something against Israel, in the same way, Israel should automatically like wage a war and eliminate that threat. Um, Quickly, someone in the chat said, I don't have the comment in front of me, but something like Israel is not waging a war on the Palestinian people. It's just trying to get its hostages. It's defending itself and it's trying to get the hostages back. And yeah, I think I misspoke because, yeah, that is what Israel is doing. That is not what Israel should be doing. Israel should recognize the fact that it is the Palestinian people themselves who fundamentally oppose Israel. It's we always say that there is no resistance group within the Palestinian people against Hamas, against or when there is against Fatah or against Hamas, it's for even more extremist aspects of that culture of that population to be put forward instead. So yeah, I guess you're right. Israel is not waging war, but it should. And we see what not recognizing that and what not waging war like that does to Israelis. They are not able to finish off Hamas. They are not able to finish off Gaza. They were not able to finish off Hezbollah. Again, because of not recognizing what this war is about.
Yeah, it was Hamas that planned the attacks on October 7th, planned the invasion, and what planned what they did. What they didn't plan was the many Palestinians, thousands possibly, who joined them once they knew it was happening. The many, many thousands who took to the streets to celebrate, to abuse bodies, to abuse hostages. So yeah, it is the Palestinian people who are the enemy in this war. Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Christian says, in a sane world, Europe and Egypt would deal alone with freeing the Gulf of Aden, the Bab el Mandeb Strait from the Houthis. Well, in a sane world, again, it could be any one of the countries that are the victims of the Houthis in this, or a coalition of the sane countries. But also in a sane world, Egypt would either the current regime would either not exist or would be a pariah. We would not deal with countries like that, and that's another problem. Thank you, Tricycle Jesus, for the super chat. Tricycle Jesus says, "Thank you, PC, for the super chat." Yeah, that is my, I think, most often repeated line on the show, which I, of course, appreciate and hope to continue to repeat. Akira agrees with Daniel and says, "We all hate Trump." That's not true, by the way, if you look at some of our viewers. But Akira says, "We all hate Trump. He's a lifelong Democrat. It's just that Democrats today are worse than Trump on Israel, for Israel." Yeah, worse than Trump on many other things as well. Not as bad as him on some things, but yeah. And Akira also said later on, when crazy people call Jews demons, they mean civilized and Western. I don't know that Chris Williamson is crazy. He is an evil ideologue. He has an evil ideology which he's been pushing. It's evil not just towards Israel. It's evil towards this country which he wants to ruin from inside. So yeah, he's bad all around, and if he does ever get close to power, we will certainly do many, many shows about him. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, about the idea of long-time Democrats, I think I talked about it. It was sort of like a surprising thing to see when you think about it. Like all the most controversial aspects of Trump administrations are like lifetime Democrats, while the better people are like, hardcore Republicans, which was just a pretty interesting observation. And you forgot to mention, Tricycle Jesus did a super chat in my favorite currency, South African Rand. Yeah,
Your favorite currency or favorite name for a currency? I don't know
yes.
if that's the best currency out there. I mean, if you're investing in foreign exchange, I don't know if that's where you want to go. No offense, we do appreciate South African Rand, but yeah.
I think I do have some South African stocks if they are on the stock market. But yeah, going to something different. There was Daniel Hagari, the IDF spokesperson, has after the attack has made a speech, and he talked about the continuous violation of international law by the Houthis. And whenever I hear that, it's like, why are you even trying? Why are you even trying to like say or like imply that anybody cares about international law when it goes against or when it doesn't go against Israel, when it goes against the enemies of Israel? It is really like sad to see. It's the same as Netanyahu talking about his friendship with Saudi Arabia during the UN speech, and then the camera goes to the UN seat and they are gone because many people left as soon as Netanyahu had his speech. Um, it is the same, like, we've been talking about this for more than a year, and generally about the injustice done to Israel has been going on for at the very least like decades realistically. And again, it's never the case that people just don't know what's going on. It's not ignorance. I mean, yesterday we talked about Tucker Carlson, and he was like, well, what's wrong with Assad? I don't even know why I should hate Assad. It's not ignorance. It's like actual like malice, actual evil. Like these people know what's going on. I mean, my favorite thing from that was always Norman Finkelstein when he was challenged about, well, what about the Houthis? Like violation of international law, and he's like, I don't care. It's they're attacking, they're trying to stop a genocide, they're trying to stop an Israeli genocide, so who cares if they're breaking international law? And that is really clear that it really as much as I think like debunking the we did a episode on Piers Morgan when Alan Dershowitz was on, and Alan Dershowitz is big on like really debunking all the misconceptions about Israel. And no matter how many times you do that, it doesn't matter, because once whatever propaganda is out, once Lancet says 186,000 Palestinians died, then it just gets repeated, and it literally doesn't matter how many times you try to debunk it. Of course, there is a place for it for the more reasonable people, but when it comes to really the hardcore anti-Israeli and honestly pro-Hamas people out there, there is nothing you could say to them. It is all just like it's just a moral rejection of Israel, moral rejection of civilization.
Yeah, I mean, this is why also I've said I really object to the to people who are pro-Israel going out there and debating genocide, debating whether this is genocide, because you know you're first of all, you're pretending that the other side is against genocide. They are not. It's just that the genocide that they support isn't really working out, and they need to get the West on their side. But there's nobody on, again, if these people are supporters of the Houthis, if they're supporters of the Palestinians, if they're supporters of Iran, if they're supporters of Hezbollah, they are supporters of genocide. In the words of these organizations that they are supporting, they want to get rid of the Jews, at least in the Jewish state, although we've seen these people attacked elsewhere. So yeah, no debating anybody who supports, the Chris Williamsons of the world are not people who should be debated. They might be people who should do shows on, but that's as far as it should go. Um, Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says, Williamson works for Iranian TV. That's enough to write him off. Yes, that and many other things individually about him are enough to write him off. Um, Okay, there were a couple actually. Oh yeah, Davy Boy says, condemn a Jew hater in the UK and you might get sued, as George Galloway did years ago, and he won. Yeah, well, yeah, George Galloway, is also a friend of terrorists everywhere. I mean, the fact that George Galloway, George Galloway should have been a warning sign to people in the UK that if he can get away with being who he is and getting elected to parliament and getting becoming sort of a mainstream voice, then we are in serious trouble because yeah, this is somebody who hides who he is less than many on the left, and in the past year we've seen people come out more openly, supporting supporting genocide while claiming to be against it. Um, yeah, so Israel has said after their latest retaliatory strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. The defense minister Israel Katz has said that Israel will continue to fight back against anybody that harms Israelis. And the problem there is Israel knows the Houthis aren't going to stop over this. So why are they waiting for the next attack? While Israeli planes were on their way to Yemen, a Houthi missile was on its way to Israel, was shot down, apparently, or as Israel claims, outside of Israel, but parts of it did fall down on a school and destroyed a school's building. Not one of the schools you'll hear about in Western media because it's not a Palestinian school where weapons are being hidden and terrorists are hiding. But yeah, I mean, what is Israel waiting for? And unfortunately, we know if the Houthis, again, if one of those missiles hits a building with hundreds of people, kills them all, Israel will retaliate in a way that it hasn't done so far. So really, hopefully that will not be the case. Hopefully Israel will decide to do more. No major damage will happen until Trump, and then Trump will also do a bit more. But no, the lesson, one of the many lessons of October 7th should be believe them and act against them before they do what we know they want to do and are trying to do. Parting thoughts, Daniel?
Someone in the chat said, oh, it was Akira, said Yaron should go on Israeli tour with his anti-Semitism and anti-capitalism, which is a talk I recommend, and one of them was started by someone on this call. So I recommend checking that out.
I have to say he gave it elsewhere, and we did an event right before, like a couple of weeks before the election here in 2019, where Jeremy Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party. We did an event titled "A Socialist Britain: What Are We In For?" And I asked Yaron to give that talk there, and he did. And that talk is available on the Ayn Rand Institute um, YouTube channel. Was
So if
available
there's anybody to talk for all the conservative stuff they did under the lockdown, you can thank Razi for that.
And as for what the Ayn Rand Center UK's YouTube channel is doing, we're talking about Candace again, but we're talking more about her audience and what her audience had to say to us, which is pretty amazing. If you watched last week's episode or even didn't, and go there and see the comments section, it is unprecedented, even in terms of us being trolled. We are going to talk about that on the reality show, so make sure you tune in to that. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you on the reality show.